Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu salam ala Rasulullah. We continue reading from Imam Ghazali's The 99 Beautiful Names of God. Al-Maqsad al-Asna fi Sharh Asma Allah al-Husna. Translated by David Borel and Nazih Dahir. We have reached the number 17, Al-Wahhab. This is the bottom of page 74. Imam Ghazali rahmahullah said, Al-Wahhab, the bestower, a gift is a present free from recompense and interest. If gifts with this qualification are numerous, the one giving them is called a bestower and generous. And here يسمى صاحبها جوادا وهابا. The one giving them is called a bestower and generous soul. If we skip the word soul, because I know that in English it makes sense if we speak about a human being, but since it does not exist in the Arabic, I would rather refrain from that because it's going to be applied to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala immediately in the next sentence. But generosity and giving cannot authentically be conceived of except from God the Most High. Such unconditional gifting without expectation of anything in return. This is the meaning. For he is one who gives to everyone what he needs, neither for recompense nor out of interest, either now or later. But whoever bestows his gift with an eye to some interest to be realized by it sooner or later, be it appreciation, affection, or release from blame, or acquiring distinction or mention, he is neither a giver nor generous, but rather engaged in transaction and recompense, seeking something in return. It has been narrated that Hatim al-Tai, one of the most generous Arabs in during the pre-Islamic period, and the Prophet ﷺ met his daughter, Hatim al-Tai's daughter, and his son. Both became Muslim at a later stage, but Hatim did not reach Islam. And the Prophet ﷺ recognized the generosity of Hatim in the way he was generous to Hatim's daughter. It's many details there, but it seems that Hatim wanted to be mentioned. He was so generous, but he wanted to be mentioned. He wanted his name to be kind of immortalized, kind of as a generous person. So he wanted something in return. So it cannot be hiba per se, like in the absolute sense. So such a person is engaged in transaction, it's business. Nor is all recompense something tangible received, but rather whatever one has not yet attained, but intends as giver to attain by the gift, it is considered a recompense. Whoever gives generously in order to gain distinction or praise for himself, or to avert blame, is engaged in a transaction. The truly generous is one from whom benefits pour forth on those who benefit from him, but not for recompense returning to him. Indeed, Whoever does something because he would have been denounced had he not done it, is freeing himself by doing so. And that is interest and recompense. The concept of iwad. And in the council, then be generosity or giving to court are inconceivable on the part of a human being. For did the performance not suit him more than refraining from it, he would not have undertaken it. So his initiative can be attributed to self interest. But the one who sacrifices all that he owns, even his life, for the sake of God alone, great and glorious, not to arrive at the comfort of paradise or to avoid the pain of hell, or for an immediate or future gain, such as would be accorded on being among the gains proper to man. Such a one is worthy of being named giver and generous. Below him is the one who gives freely to achieve the joy of paradise, and below him is the one who gives freely to obtain praise. Still, everyone who does not seek to receive tangible recompense will be called generous. If you say, the one who gives freely of all that he owns purely for the sake of God, the Most High, with no anticipation of gain now or later, how is he not generous when he has no gain at all in it? We would say his gain is God, the Most High, his acceptance, as well as meeting him and reaching him. And that is the happiness which man acquires by his free actions. And in comparison to it, every other gain is to be disdained. Disdained, belittled compared to beatific vision. Or you may say, what does it mean when they say that the knower of God, al-arif billah, the knower of God Most High is one who worships God, who worships God, great and glorious, for God's sake and not for the sake of an ulterior gain, as it has been mentioned about Rab al-Adawi, wallahu alam, when she said that she worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because He is the al-haq, the truth, or because that is really the proper behavior, not because she is interested in paradise, nor because she is afraid of hellfire. Or you may say, what does it mean when they say that the knower of God Most High is one who worships God great and glorious for God's sake and not for the sake of an ulterior gain? For if human action is never free from gain, what difference is there between one who worships God Most High purely for God and one who worships Him for some gain? You should know that, according to the majority, the expression gain is equated with interests familiar to them. So whoever is free from those and retains no objective but God Most High will be said to be free from gain. That is, from what people reckon as gain. It is like they're saying that the servant respects his master, not for the master's sake, but for some gain coming to him from his master in the form of comfort or kindness. And the master looks after his servant, not for the servant's sake, but for some gain coming to him in the form of his service. As for the parent, he cares for his son the parent really, uh, since really it's masculine and it's al-walid, and the pronouns here obviously indicate it's the father. He cares for his son for his son's sake, not for the gain coming to him from his son. Indeed, if there were no gain from him at all, he would still be concerned to look after him. Whenever one seeks something for the sake of something else, and not for its own sake, it is as though he is not seeking that very thing, for that is not the goal which he is seeking. The goal he is seeking is something else. This is like the one who seeks gold. He does not seek it for its own sake, but to attain food or clothes by it. In the book of thankfulness and uh, patience, Imam Ghazali does divide things, that which is sought for itself, and that which is sought for something else, and that which is sought for itself and something else. The latter would be like health, the one before that is like gold, and the first one like uh, seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wanted really to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to have that beatific vision, to be in the company of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So thus we have like three divisions. He does not seek, so this is like the one who seeks gold, he does not seek it for its own sake, but to attain food or clothes by it. Yet food and clothes are not sought for their own sake, but rather as means to satisfy pleasure or word of something or suffering. Now pleasure is sought for its own sake and not for another goal beyond it. And the case is similar regarding the avoidance of pain. So gold is a means to food, and food is means to pleasure, while pleasure in it is itself a goal and not a means to something else. Similarly, the son is not a means so far as the father is concerned. Rather, he seeks the well being of the son for the sake of the son, because the child himself is his gain. Like the story of Zakaria alayhi salam in the Quran. He asked for a son, and that's really the gain in itself. يرثني يرث من آل يعقوب. Similarly, whoever worships God, great and glorious, for the sake of paradise has made God, may he be praised and exalted, a means to seeking it rather than making God, the goal of his quest. The sign that something is a means is that no one seeks it if its benefit can be attained without it. So that if one's intentions could be achieved without gold would neither be loved nor sought. For what is really loved is the benefit sought and not the gold. So if paradise were attainable to one worshipping God for its sake, without worshipping God great and glorious, he would not worship God. Therefore, what he is seeking and what he loves is paradise, and nothing else. Whoever has no love but God, great and glorious, and seeks nothing except him, and whose gain lies in delight at meeting God Most High, being near to him, and in accompanying the heavenly host who are close to his presence. Heavenly host is the Al-Mala al-A'la, who are close to his presence, to God's presence. He is the one who can be said to worship God, great and glorious, for the sake of God, not in the sense that he is not seeking gain, but in the sense that God, great and glorious, is himself his gain. And there is no gain beyond him, beyond Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, whoever does not believe in the pleasure and delight of meeting God or drawing close to him will not long for him. And whoever does not long for him cannot conceivably have that as his portion, since it is inconceivable that meeting God would be his goal from the beginning. For that reason, in his worship of God, the Most High, he will be like none other than an evil hireling كالأجير السوء لا يعمل إلا بأجرة, working only for the wage he anticipates from it. I wonder if evil is appropriate with it's not too much, because word per word that should have been شرير, but here كالأجير السوء. But again, if we are still talking about an example from this world, someone who is hired to perform a job in exchange for compensation, that shouldn't be bad. I'm talking about this life. If you donate, if you volunteer, that will be extremely important. But you would not volunteer and donate typically until or unless or except if you have enough. I remember talking to a retired um, woman who donated, volunteered the first year after her retirement. She simply volunteered the whole year until she really plans very well what is it that she's going to do or what she was going to do in her life. Not really for gain, and this is not about spirituality. This is she would not be able to donate to volunteer for a whole year, some kind of social work, community work, unless she has enough. For that reason, in his worship of God the Most High, he will be like none other than an evil hireling, working only for the wage he anticipates from it. Most creatures have not tasted this pleasure, nor have they known it, so they do not understand the pleasure of contemplating the face of God, great and glorious, but only believe in it in so far as they speak with their tongues. So far as their motivation is concerned, they are inclined towards the pleasures of meeting the black and white eyed ones. And here, basically, it's about Al-Hur Al-Ain, believing in that alone. You should understand from this that freedom from gain is impossible. If you allow that God, the Most High, that is, meeting Him and coming close to Him, may be called a gain. A gain, your portion, your recompense. But if gain be equated with what the majority defines it to be, and what their hearts incline towards, then that is not a gain. People would think about the general public. If you talk about gain, what is it that they are interested? Whether it's food, drink, clothing, housing, cars, it's practically the material aspect. Finally, however, if it be equated with something whose attainment serves man better than its absence, then it is a gain. وإن كان عبارة عما حصوله أولى من عدمه في حق العبد فهو حظ. The next name is Al-Razzaq, the provider. That's number 18. Inshallah, we will deal with that in the next session. Until then, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.